He walked into my diner just before his daughter's 5th birthday, soaked in rain, holding a trembling pink gift. Paparazzi waited outside. When I leaned in to fix the ribbon, I saw the gun under his jacket and the card to Mommy. He looked at me, desperate. Can you pretend to be my wife for 1 week? The rain in Brooklyn has a sound. It is not a clean sound. It is a tired hiss that hits the pavement and mixes with the sirens and the grease fumes from the diner vent. The Harbor Light Diner is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I work the graveyard shift from 10 at night until 6 in the morning. This shift pays the rent for my small apartment. But kindness, I often wonder, what does that cost? My name is Grace Collins. I am 29 years old. I used to be a nursing student, learning how to take temperatures and clean wounds. I learned how to care for others, how to spot pain they were trying to hide, but I never learned how to care for myself. My mother's addiction took care of that. My brother's last stint in corrections finished the lesson. So now, I pour coffee. It is easier. The only thing that breaks is the cup, and I can sweep that up. This city is full of ghosts. The recent Rico busts had shaken up the old families, and the air was thick with new predators filling the vacuum. You could feel it even in the diner. The cops came in more often, looking jumpy. The quiet men in expensive coats stopped coming in at all. Tonight, the rain was relentless. It was 3 in the morning. I was wiping down the counter, the smell of stale coffee and bleach filling my nose, when the bell over the door chimed. He walked in. I had never seen him before, but I knew his kind. He wore a black wool coat that probably cost more than my entire year's salary, and it was soaked. The water dripped from him, forming a dark puddle on the linoleum. He was tall, maybe 37, with dark hair and eyes that looked like they had not slept in a week. He held a large, elaborate pink gift box. The pink satin ribbon was coming undone. He did not look at me. He looked at the empty booths, the flickering neon sign. His city swallows promises like sewers swallow rain. That was the thought that came to my mind. He looked like a man whose promises were drowning. He walked to the counter, his steps heavy. He was alone. "I need a cake," he said. His voice was deep, a gravelly rumble that was used to giving commands. I pointed to the sad, plastic-covered display. "We have cheesecake and apple pie. The bakery is closed." He looked at the display, and his shoulders slumped. I saw the exhaustion on him then. It was not just tiredness, it was a bone-deep weariness. He was a man who held up the world, and his arms were giving out. I know that power makes everyone silent, everyone except, perhaps, a child. "It is for my daughter, Ava. She turns 5 tomorrow," he said, mostly to himself. She wanted a cake. I looked at the pink box he was holding. The ribbon was soaked, and the cardboard was starting to soften. "That ribbon is ruined," I said, my voice softer than I intended. He looked down at the box as if just noticing it. "Yes, give it to me." I took the box from him. His hands were large and scarred, but they gave up the box gently. I took it behind the counter, found the scissors and the roll of cheap white ribbon we used for wrapping sandwiches. As I worked, I could feel him watching me. I am used to being watched on this shift, but not like this. He was not looking at my legs or my chest. He was looking at my hands, at the way I was tying the bow. "She wants a party," he said, his voice quiet, "like her friends at preschool, with a mother." There was a story there, a missing wife, a separation, in this city. It was usually a tragedy or a betrayal. I did not ask. I just focused on the bow. "You build walls so high," he murmured, "but you can never block a child's question." He was a man of power. I could feel it. The way he held himself, even in his exhaustion, spoke of control. Luca Moretti. The name clicked in my head from the whispers and the newspapers. He was the head of a branch of the Italian-American organization, a man who was trying to keep his daughter, Ava, who was only 5 years old, out of the violent vortex he lived in. His biggest lesson, I guessed, was that protection sometimes means lying. And now, his daughter's birthday was a target. I had read the gossip columns. His enemy, Viktor Dragunov, had promised a gift on the exact day of the child's party. I swear on the sea, they will not touch her birthday. He had that look on his face. There, I said, handing the box back. The white bow was clumsy, but it was dry. He looked at it, then at me. His eyes were dark, and for a second, I saw the man who commanded, not the tired father, "Thank you." Before he could pay, the diner door burst open. It was not a customer. It was a flash of light. Paparazzi, 2 of them, cameras flashing, shoving their way in. "Mr. Moretti, is it true about the Dragunov threat?" "Who is the girl? Luca hiding a new family." The man, Luca Moretti, reacted instantly. He did not reach for a weapon. He turned his body, shielding me and the cake box, his back becoming a solid wall. But the flashes were blinding. Then I heard it, a small whimper from the doorway. I leaned past him. In the open door, getting soaked by the rain, was a large black car. In the back seat, a little girl with huge, terrified eyes was pressing her face to the window. "Ava! Daddy," she cried out. "Is Mommy coming?" The cameras swung toward the car, toward the child. I did not think I moved. I grabbed my jacket from the hook, ran past Luca, and burst out the door. I ran to the car, pulling open the back door. The flashes were popping behind me, explosions of white light. "Get in," I yelled at Luca. He was right behind me. He threw the cake box onto the front seat and slid into the back, pulling the little girl into his arms. I jumped in beside him, slamming the door and pulling my jacket up to cover the window, shielding the girl's face from the lenses. "Go!" Luca yelled at the driver. The car lurched forward, tires squealing on the wet asphalt. We drove for a block in silence, the only sound the wipers and the girl's quiet sobs. My heart was pounding. I looked at the little girl. She was tiny, all dark curls and big eyes, now red with tears. Her small hand was clutching her father's coat. I saw her hand tremble under the camera flash. I did not need to know who her father was to know what to do. Luca was looking at me. His expression was unreadable. He had seen what I did. A stranger who shields is better than family who turns away. "I'm sorry about that," he said. His voice was calm now, the command returning. "It is fine," I said, my voice shaking. I should get back." "Stop the car, Sal," Luca ordered. The car pulled over on a dark street corner. The rain was letting up. "Thank you, Grace," he said. I froze. "How do you know my name?" "It is on your uniform." He gestured to my name tag. "Grace Collins." I nodded, feeling stupid. The little girl, Ava, had stopped crying. She was looking at me. Are you Mommy?" My breath caught. I looked at Luca. His face was pale. "No, sweetheart," I said softly. "I am not." Ava's face crumpled, and she buried her head in her father's chest. Luca Moretti closed his eyes. He looked like a man on the edge of a cliff. I saw the desperation. This was not a mafia boss. This was a father who was failing. Begging is the last skill of a man who thought he had everything. He opened his eyes and looked directly at me. The streetlights carved shadows onto his face. "Grace Collins," he said, his voice low and urgent. "I have a proposition for you. A job." "I have a job," I said, gesturing back toward the diner. "A different job. For 1 week. I will pay you. I will pay you enough to cover 10 years of rent." I stared at him. "What job?" "I need you," he said. And the words sounded like they hurt him. "I need you to pretend to be my wife." The rain started to fall again, harder this time. "You need me to what?" I whispered. "My daughter's birthday, the press, my enemies, they are all watching. I need a distraction. I need her to have this one perfect week." He looked down at his daughter's head. "She wants a mother for her party. You were good with the cameras. You were good with her." He was insane. This was a man who lived in a world of violence and headlines, asking me to step into the middle of it. "I am a waitress," I said, "not an actress." "I do not need an actress. I need you. I need someone who looks normal, someone they will not expect." I should have said no. I should have laughed and gotten out of the car, but I looked at the little girl, Ava. I looked at this broken, powerful man, and I thought about my brother, Leo, caged. I thought about my mother, lost. I thought about a lifetime of running. "What are the conditions?" I asked. His eyes lit up, just a fraction, hope. "My conditions," I said, my voice firm. I was surprised at how steady it sounded. "1, this is a job, nothing personal. No intimacy that is not for the cameras." He nodded. "Agreed. You will have your own room, the guest house." 2, at the end of the week, this ends, and you have to tell her the truth, an age-appropriate truth, but not another lie. She deserves that. He hesitated. Yes, a safe truth. I agree. "And 3, I said, taking a deep breath, "I need something from you, something legal. My brother, he is in the system. He needs a better lawyer. He needs a second chance." Luca did not blink. "His name?" "Leo Collins. He's at Rikers, awaiting transfer. He will have the best legal team in the state by morning. And you," he added, "will have complete protection, a contract, whatever you need. My lawyers will ensure you are legally untouched by any of this. I'm stepping into the gray, but if I have to, I am bringing a flashlight." I looked at Ava, who had fallen asleep against her father's chest. I looked at the man who was offering me a deal with the devil to save an angel. "1 week, I said. He nodded, a profound relief washing over his face. 1 week. He gave me a number to call, a man named Marco, who would arrange everything. He gave me an advance in cash from his wallet that was more money than I'd ever seen in one place. I got out of the car. "Grace," he called. I turned. "Thank you." I watched the black car disappear into the rain. I stood on the corner, my clothes damp, my pockets full of money that felt heavy as lead. I walked the 10 blocks back to the diner, my mind racing. When I got to my shift change, I went home to my tiny apartment. I locked the door, leaned against it, and pulled out my phone. One message, an unknown number. It was just a few words. "We know you met him. Be smart, Grace, help us, and we can help Leo." I checked the number. My blood ran cold. It was the private cell number of Detective Reed, the same detective who had processed my brother's arrest. "They think I'm a pawn." I looked at the burner phone number Luca's driver had given me. I looked at the message from Reed. "If I have to be a pawn, I will choose the board." The car that picked me up was not the same one. This was a black sedan with windows so dark they looked like polished stone. It drove me out of Brooklyn, over the Verrazano Bridge, and into a part of Staten Island I had only seen in movies. We passed through a massive wrought iron gate that opened without a sound. We drove up a long, curving driveway. The house was not a house. It was a fortress. Gray stone, high walls, and small, dark windows. It was built to keep the world out. I wondered if it also kept the people inside trapped. A man was waiting on the steps. He was built like a refrigerator, with a square jaw and eyes that missed nothing. "Grace Collins," he stated. It was not a question. "I am Marco Vitale, head of security." "Hello," I said. His eyes swept over me, and I felt like a piece of merchandise he was evaluating. His gaze weighed me and found me lacking. I could almost hear him thinking, "The biggest threat always wears a kind face." He led me inside. The foyer was vast and cold, all marble and dark wood. It smelled of lemon oil and old money. "Daddy?" A small figure came tearing down the grand staircase. Ava. She was wearing pink pajamas with little bears on them. She did not stop. She ran directly to me and wrapped her arms around my legs, burying her face in my coat. I froze. I looked at Marco, who was watching. I looked at Luca, who was walking out of a nearby room. He stopped, his face unreadable. I slowly, awkwardly, patted the little girl on her head. "Hey, Ava," I whispered. She looked up at me, her eyes wide. "You came." "I came," I said. "Are you staying for my birthday?" I looked at Luca. He was my cue. He nodded, once. "Yes," I said to Ava, "I am staying." She hugged me again. Harder. She buried her face in my sweater. I smelled like the diner. Coffee and a little bit of grease. I suppose she thought a mother should smell like a kitchen. Not expensive perfume. An older woman, dressed in severe black, emerged from a hallway. She had her white hair pulled back in a tight bun, and she looked at me with open disapproval. "This is Nonna Lucia," Luca said, his voice quiet. "She manages the household." Nonna Lucia looked me up and down. "She is thin. Can she even cook?" "Nonna," Luca said, a warning in his voice. "A wife must know her way around a kitchen." She sniffed. "And the chapel? Does she know her catechism?" "She is here to help Ava," Luca said, his voice flat. "That is all." Nonna Lucia just grunted and disappeared back into the shadows of the house. The next few hours were a blur. Luca explained that the guest house was a large, beautifully furnished suite of rooms in a separate wing of the mansion. It had its own entrance. He was honoring our agreement. Then came the public relations team, 2 women and a man, all dressed in sharp suits, carrying tablets. They sat me down in a large study. Luca sat opposite me. "So," the head woman said, her name was Clara, "we are going with the secret wedding angle. You 2 eloped months ago. You have been keeping it quiet for family reasons." She handed me a folder. "This is your script, your story, where you met, how long you have been together. Key dates. You will memorize this." Every fake word was a pebble in my shoe. "Then, the photos," she continued. "We need to counter the narrative. We need family shots, something warm, something to prove the story." They set it up in the garden. It was a beautiful, sunny day, but I felt cold. I stood next to Luca. He put his hand on the small of my back. His touch was professional, distant, but it burned right through my sweater. Ava stood between us. "Smile," the photographer called out. I smiled. Luca smiled. His arm tightened around my waist, pulling me closer. Ava giggled and clapped her hands. The flash went off, a series of small explosions. Luca smiled for the camera, but I saw the tightness in his eyes. I could tell that a nice photo does not cure the panic from a flashbulb. He hated this as much as I did. Marco watched the entire thing from the edge of the patio. He never stopped watching me. I knew he was digging into my life, looking for the dirt, looking for the fact that my brother was in jail, looking for Detective Reed. That night, I proved my usefulness. I was in the guest house, unpacking the few things I had brought, when I heard it, a series of loud bangs, fireworks from somewhere down by the water. Then came the scream. It was not a child's tantrum. It was pure, unfiltered terror. I ran from my room, through the connecting hallway and into the main house. The sound was coming from Ava's bedroom. I pushed the door open. Ava was in her bed, thrashing, her eyes wide with panic. She was hyperventilating. Luca was there, trying to hold her. "Ava, calm down, it is nothing." "Shh, it is just noise." But he was too big, too male, too stressed. His presence was making it worse. I remembered my nursing training. I remembered my mother, after a bad night. "Let me," I said, my voice quiet but firm. Luca looked at me, his face desperate. He backed away. I sat on the edge of the bed. I did not touch Ava. I just sat there. "Hi, Ava," I said softly. She kept screaming, her eyes not even seeing me. "I'm going to breathe," I said. "Just watch me." I took a loud, slow, exaggerated breath in, and then a loud, slow breath out. "In," I said, and I breathed in. "Out," I said, and I breathed out. Her screams started to quiet. Her eyes focused on my face. "You try it with me," I said. "We are going to count in for 4, hold for 4, out for 7, okay." She nodded, her little body trembling. "In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did it again and again. Her breathing started to even out. The trembling slowed. "Good girl," I whispered. "The fear gets smaller when you have a hand that is warm enough. Can I hold your hand?" She nodded. I took her small, damp hand in mine. It was just fireworks," I said, "like the 4th of July. "The dark," she whispered. "It was loud, like before." I looked at Luca, who was standing in the doorway. His face was a mask of pain and guilt. "Well, it is gone now," I said to Ava. "It is just us. You are safe." She leaned forward and put her head on my lap. I stroked her hair. After a few minutes, her breathing deepened. She was asleep. I gently laid her back on her pillow and pulled the covers up. I walked out of the room. Luca was waiting in the hall. He looked shaken. "How did you do that?" he asked. His voice was raw. "I used to be in nursing school," I said. "I know how to handle panic." He just stared at me. And then, for the first time, a small, genuine laugh escaped his lips. It was a rusty sound, like it had not been used in a long time. "Of course you were," he said. He shook his head. Thank you, Grace." He was looking at me differently, not as an employee, not as a prop. It was the first time I had heard a sound in this house that was not a command or a sob. I knew that the best sound in the world to him was not the click of a safe opening. It was the sound of his daughter breathing peacefully. The peace did not last long. The next day, a black sedan was spotted parked near Ava's preschool. It was not one of Luca's. Marco's team ran the plates. They were stolen. Then, a photo appeared on a gossip website. It was a picture of me taking Ava into the school. But it was not just a photo. It had coordinates, a location tag. Marco stormed into the kitchen, where I was making Ava a sandwich. He threw a tablet on the counter. Luca was right behind him. "And this is your fault," Marco snarled at me. "Marco," Luca warned. "She did this. She leaked it." Marco pointed a thick finger in my face. "How much are the cops paying you? Grace, or is it Dragunov?" I felt the blood drain from my face. To be framed is as easy as getting wet in New York rain. "I did not do that," I said, my voice trembling. "How did they get this photo? This location-only internal security knows our routes." "I do not know." "Stop," Luca said. His voice was not loud, but it cut through the room. "Leave her, Marco." "Boss, she is a liability. I told you. We do not know her." "I said leave," Luca commanded. Marco looked at me with pure hatred. Then he turned and stormed out. I was shaking. I looked at Luca. "Do you believe him?" Luca was quiet for a long time. He looked out the window. "I do not know what to believe. This house is full of loyal men, but leaks happen." "I did not do it, Luca." He turned to me. His eyes were tired. "I know, but they do not." "This is not safe," I said. "Not for her. This whole plan is falling apart." "It has to work," he said, his voice hard. "It has to last until her birthday." "And then what?" I demanded. "Then what? Luca, you go back to lying. She goes back to having panic attacks. We cannot just camouflage the pain forever." "What do you want from me, Grace?" he yelled. "I want you to promise me," I yelled back. "Promise me that after this party, you will tell her a part of the truth. A truth she can handle. You said it yourself. She needs to learn to hold the sword." He stared at me, his chest rising and falling. He was strong on the streets, I knew that. But here, at his own dinner table, he was weak, he was terrified. "If I tell her the truth, I will lose her," he whispered. "She will hate me." "She will hate you more if she finds out you lied for her whole life." He looked at me, and I saw something break in his eyes. He was a man who controlled everything, and he was completely reliant on the calm of a waitress he had just met. "Okay," he said, "I promise." That night, I could not sleep. I went down to the kitchen. It was 2 a.m. The house was silent. Luca was there. He He was sitting at the massive kitchen island, a bowl of soup in front of him. He was not eating. I started to back out, but he looked up. "Do not go!" I walked in. "I'm sorry, I did not mean to. It is fine. I cannot sleep either." He pushed a second bowl across the island. Nonna Lucia's minestrone. It is the one thing she makes that does not taste like judgment. I sat down. I took a spoonful. It was amazing, rich and warm. We ate in silence for a few minutes. "You are good with her," he said. "She's an easy kid to be good to." I said, "No, she is not." He said, "She is damaged. I damaged her by protecting her." "You did what you thought was right," I said. He looked at me, a real look. "And you, Grace Collins, what about your past?" "My past is my past," I said, looking down into my soup. "Marco found your brother, Leo." My heart stopped. "He is not. You did not hurt him." "No," Lucas said quickly. "My lawyers are working. He will be moved to a safer facility tomorrow." I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "Your mother," he continued, his voice gentle. "She is sick," I said. "An addiction. She's not in my life right now." "I'm sorry." "Me too." We sat there, two people from different worlds, united by our damaged families. He had all the money and power in the world, and I had nothing. But we were both just trying to keep our heads above water. He was not asking me about the money. He was not asking me about the press or the danger. He was asking about me. And I realized, sitting there in the dark kitchen, that a man who truly listens is rarer than diamonds. The world outside the stone walls was moving, and it was moving against us. Luca was a king in his castle, but even kings have enemies at the gates and inside. Viktor Dragunov was not just a name whispered in the news. He was the man Luca was fighting for control of the Brooklyn ports. He was a ghost, a man from the old country who saw violence as a tool and people as disposable. He did not want Luca's blood. He wanted his heart. He wanted to take the one thing Luca could not protect with guns or money. He wanted Ava. And I was trapped. I was caught in a web, and every time I moved, it pulled tighter. Detective Reed was one strand. He texted me again, his messages becoming more insistent. "We know you are inside. Grace, a wire, a piece of information. That is all we need. Leo walks. Think about it." I was standing between two types of men, those who sell stories to the highest bidder, and those who sell their souls for a conviction. Tara Quinn was another. She was the reporter from the diner, the one who had her own show on a gossip channel. And her reports were relentless. Billionaire bruiser Luca Moretti and his mystery wife, is it love, or is it a cover-up for the coming war with Dragunov, sources say, sinks. And then there was my own heart. I was here for Leo. I was here for the money that would give my mother a chance at a real rehabilitation center. But when Ava ran to me in the morning, her face bright and sleepy, my reasons got complicated. If I say no to Reed, I betray my brother. If I say yes, I betray this little girl. I betray Luca. The word betray tasted like ash. I did not know who I was betraying by staying, or who I would betray by leaving. The pressure inside the house was getting worse. Marco hated me. He followed me with his eyes. He had his men escort me when I was in the main house. I was a prisoner in a gilded cage. "We have a problem," Luca said. He called me to his study. It was the first time I had been in there since the public relations meeting. Marco was standing by the desk, his arms crossed. He looked smug. "What is it?" I asked. Luca's face was grim. He tapped a screen on his desk. It showed a blueprint, a map of the house. Red lines were blinking along the perimeter. "This is the security schematic for the party," Luca said. "It was leaked, sent from an anonymous server to Tara Quinn's production office." "How?" I asked. "That is what we are trying to figure out," DeMarco said, his voice a low growl. The file was on a secure server. Only 3 people had the password for that file. Me, him. He jabbed a thumb at Luca. "And the head of our IT department. So one of you leaked it, I said, looking at Marco. His face turned dark. You think you are funny? There is a fourth person, a new person, someone who has been taking calls on a private cell phone, someone the cops are squeezing. I froze. He knew about Reed. What are you talking about? I said, my voice barely a whisper. No. Do you think we're stupid? Marco took a step toward me. Detective Reed, he's been your shadow for 2 years, trying to flip you against your family. Now he is using your brother. You are the leak, Grace. Marco, Lucas said. His voice was quiet, but it stopped Marco cold. I looked at Luca. Do you believe him? Luca would not meet my eyes. He was looking at the screen. The house is talking to someone else besides me. He was thinking it. I could see it. He was doubting. And Marco was right. The enemy always gets a key from someone on the inside. I did not, I said, my voice shaking with anger, not fear. I did not send that file. I would not even know how to find it. Yes, Reed contacted me. I did not reply. Show me your phone, Marco demanded. No. Show me the phone or I will take it from you. Marco Luca's voice cracked like a whip. Stand down, she is my guest. She's a rat, boss. She is the woman I am photographed with. She is the mother of my child, as far as the world knows. And you will treat her with respect, or you will find a new family to protect. Marco's jaw clenched. He looked from Luca to me. The hatred in his eyes was so pure. It was almost impressive. He gave a sharp, angry nod and left the room, slamming the door behind him. The silence was heavy. He is right, I said quietly. You do not know me. I know, Lucas said, finally looking at me, that you are not lying. I saw your face. You are a good judge of liars. It is my primary skill, he said, without humor. But this is bad, Grace. That map. It shows the safe rooms. It shows the weak points. He's planning something for the party. For Ava. The next day, the pressure tightened. I had insisted on taking Ava to her preschool. It was a small, private place that looked more like a bank than a school. Marco had 2 men with me, but I was the one holding Ava's hand. There was a new teacher's aide in the yard, a young woman I had not seen before. She was smiling, helping the children with the jungle gym, but she was not watching the children. She was watching us. Ava ran to the sandbox. I stayed on the bench, watching the new aide. She was wearing standard-issue sneakers, but the laces, they were tied in a specific intricate knot, a military knot. I had seen it before, on the news, on soldiers. Details tell the truth when adults lie. When it was time to leave, I pointed her out to one of the bodyguards. Who is she? He squinted. New, I will check. He made a call. I watched his face go pale. She is not with the school, he said, his voice tight. They have never seen her before. She just walked in. He spoke into his cufflink, and the yard was swarmed by 3 other men in suits. The woman was gone. We were halfway back to the car when I saw it, a black sedan, the same one from the other day. Parked. Waiting. I picked Ava up and ran. When we got back to the house, I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. Luca met us in the foyer. They were there. I gasped. At the school. A woman pretending to be an aide. A car. Watching. Luca's face was white. He took Ava from my arms. It is okay, Tesoro. Go with Nona. Go play. As soon as Ava was out of the room, I turned on him. This is not working. Your security is a joke. She is not safe. Do you think I do not know that? He roared. The sound echoed in the marble hall. Marco came running. What is it? She was followed, Luca said, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. At the school. Where was your team? My team was there. They said the woman was not a threat. She was not a threat. I was furious. She was tied like a soldier. Marco, she was watching every move we made. You are looking for a leak. Maybe you should look at your own men. Or your IT department. Or yourself. Marco's face was a mask of fury. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know, I said, stepping right up to him. He was a foot taller than me and twice as wide, but I did not care. I know that I am the only one who has not messed this up. I am the only one who can calm his daughter. I am the only one who spotted the woman at the school. You are all so busy looking for enemies. You are not even seeing what is right in front of you. I looked at Marco's eyes. I had expected anger. I saw something else. Confusion. Hesitation. He is not afraid of me, I thought, and that is what is scaring him. Fear is the specialty in this house. I am just choosing not to order it. Boss, Marco said, not looking at me. We need to lock this down. No one leaves, no one enters, until the party. Agreed. Luca said, Grace, you stay in the guest house. You do not leave for any reason. I'm not a prisoner, I said. Today, you are, he replied, and his eyes were cold. We all are. That night, the house was suffocating. I could not sleep. I kept seeing the woman's face, the military knot in her laces. I was pacing my room when I heard a small sound from the main house. A whimper. I slipped out of my room and down the hall. Ava's door was open a crack. She was asleep, but she was having a nightmare. She was tossing in her bed, her face tight with fear. No, she mumbled. Go away, leave him, Mama Grace, help. My heart stopped. I looked up. Luca was standing in the doorway, a shadow against the hall light. He had heard it too. He just stood there, his big shoulders slumped. That one word, Mama. It was as heavy as a hammer, but as soft as a blanket. I walked to the bed and sat down. I did not wake her. I just put my hand on her forehead. Shh, Ava, I whispered. I am here. You are safe. I am right here. She relaxed instantly. The fear drained from her face, and she settled into a deep sleep, her small hand reaching out to clutch my fingers. I sat there for a long time. I did not know that one word could build a foundation for a life. But I felt it. I felt the weight of it. After an hour, I gently slipped my hand from hers. I stood up and walked to the door. Luca was still there, and he had not moved. His face was a wreck of emotions I could not even begin to name. Luca, I whispered. He looked at me, his eyes wet. She has never done that. Not even in a dream. She is just scared. I said, you have to stay, he said. It was not a request. After the party, you have to stay. We have a deal, Luca, I said, my voice firm but quiet. 1 week, and then the truth. He looked back at his sleeping daughter. I saw the promise he had made to me, and the one he was making to himself. Stop hiding. After the party, he said, his voice hoarse, I will tell her. We will tell her together. He looked at me. But this enemy, Grace, he's not just at the gates. He's inside, and I do not know where. The garden was unrecognizable. It had been transformed into an underwater kingdom. Blue and green silks draped from the trees. Performers dressed as mermaids swam in a large, clear tank, and a string quartet was playing a soft, oceanic melody. It was beautiful, expensive, and terrified. Security was everywhere. Men in dark suits lined the perimeter, their faces blank, their eyes constantly moving. The press, including Tara Quinn, was held back at the main gate, their cameras like hungry wolves just beyond the walls. Ava was dressed as a little mermaid, her dark curls pinned up with pearl clips. She was vibrating with excitement, but I could see the overwhelm. She held my hand in a death grip. At one point, she leaned against me and whispered, I wish the ocean would sing softer. I knew what she meant. I looked at Luca. He was smiling, greeting the few families brave enough to attend, but his smile was a mask. His eyes were scanning, calculating. Every smile, every laugh from his daughter today had a price, and he was waiting for the bill. The double attack began subtly. First, a commotion at the front gate. Tara Quinn had started a live stream, screaming about being denied access, accusing Luca of holding a prisoner. It was a distraction. I knew it. Marco knew it. He sent 2 men to handle it, but it pulled resources. Second, the drone, a small, buzzing sound. One of the security men pointed. "Boss, we have an aerial." "Jam it," Luca ordered. "It is not responding, sir. It is military grade." It hovered over the party, a single malevolent eye. Then, the backup nanny arrived. I had been told about her. The original catering team's cake had an accident on Ata. This new woman, a last-minute replacement, was rolling in a massive, multi-tiered mermaid castle cake. She was dressed in a crisp white uniform, her hair pulled back. "Put it on the main table," Nonna Lucia instructed, her voice sharp with suspicion. The woman wheeled the cake near the pool. Ava, seeing it, gasped with delight and ran toward it. Luca and I followed. The party is a stage. I thought, the props are children. This is wrong. The woman smiled at Ava. "Happy birthday, little one." She pulled out a long, serrated cake knife. She turned to Luca. "Shall I cut the first piece, sir?" I was standing just behind Ava, my hand on her shoulder. The sun was bright. It hit the blade of the knife, and I saw a reflection. It was not the sun. It was not the cake. In the polished steel, I saw the reflection of the woman's waistband, tucked under her white uniform, a small, black pistol. It was shaped wrong. It was not a normal gun. It was a tranquilizer gun. She was here for Ava. I did not have time to scream. I had to move. "Oh my goodness," I laughed. A high, false sound. "Ava, sweetie, look, it is your best friend, Sophia. She wants to see the cake first." I grabbed Ava's hand in the same motion. I grabbed the little girl named Sophia, who was standing nearby. I spun them both around in a circle, laughing like it was a game. "Spin, spin, spin," I yelled. I stopped, planting Sophia directly in front of the cake, where Ava had been. I pulled Ava back against my legs. "Sophia gets the first look," I chirped. "I am sorry. Sophia, Mommy needs to borrow a minute from you to save your friend." The nanny's face twisted. She saw what I'd done. She lunged. Not at Sophia, at Ava. At the exact same instant, the sky exploded. Loud, concussive bangs, fireworks, dozens of them lighting up the afternoon sky. It was the distraction. From the east side of the garden, I heard a man shout. Glass shattered. 2 men, dressed in black tactical gear, were coming over the wall. Hell just opened up on my doorstep. The children started screaming. The parents started screaming. The nanny with the knife dropped it and pulled the tranquilizer gun. "Ava," Luca roared. But I was already moving. "Panic room now, playroom, go, go, go." I grabbed Ava's hand. I grabbed Sophia's. I shoved them toward the house. "Go to Nonna, run." Nonna Lucia was already at the kitchen door, her face a mask of stone. She was grabbing children, one by one, and shoving them inside. "Avanti, avanti." I ran through the garden, scooping up a crying little boy, pushing a girl toward the house. I was counting heads like counting heartbeats. 1 missing, and your own stops. I saw Luca and Marco. They were not running to safety. They were running toward the gunmen. They slammed the heavy east garden door shut, the one the men had breached, and Marco dropped the heavy iron bar. He looked at Luca, his face grim. He was holding the door for the old oath. He was holding it for the new child. I got the last child, a weeping boy, inside the kitchen and slammed the reinforced door. Nonna Lucia was already gone, down the hall to the playroom, which doubled as the main safe room. I ran after them. I could hear gunfire outside. I got to the panic room. Nonna Lucia was doing a final count. We had them all. 12 children. She sealed the heavy steel door. Silence. The room was soundproof. We were safe. But Ava was not with Nonna. She was pressed against the small, bulletproof porthole window that looked out into the main hallway. She could see what I could see. Luca was in the hall. He was not alone. The man I had seen in pictures, Viktor Dragunov, was there. The nanny was with him, as was one of the gunmen. "You are a fool, Moretti," Viktor sneered. Your own IT team, for $50,000. They gave me the maps. They turned off your alarms. Luca was circling him. His face was cold, calm. Rage makes a knife blind. Only calm cuts true. You came into my home, Luca said, his voice soft. You pointed a gun at my child. I came for the ports, Victor spat. The girl was just leverage. Luca moved, when he was faster than I ever could have imagined. He disarmed the gunman, broke his arm in one clean motion. But Victor was on him. They went down. A tangle of limbs and rage. The nanny raised her tranquilizer gun. And Ava screamed. It was not a panic attack. It was not a child's cry. It was a sound of pure, primal terror. Daddy, Mommy, help him. She was screaming for me. I looked at Nonna Lucia. She was pale, clutching the other children. I looked at the glowing red sealed button on the door. I hit it, what? The seal hissed, and the door unlocked. Grace, no, it is a fortress, Nonna Lucia cried. She is watching her father die. I said. I pulled the heavy door open and ran out. I ran into the hallway. Ava is watching, I screamed. All three of them turned. Luca, Victor, the nanny. The nanny raised her pistol, the tranquilizer gun. She was aiming at me. I heard a crack. It was not a foot from a dart gun. It was a real gunshot. Pain, searing, blinding heat tore through my left shoulder. It threw me back against the wall. The nanny, she had a real gun, too. I slid down, my hand clutching my arm. Blood, so much blood. It was bright red on my white shirt. If I have to bleed for her to stop being scared, let it be my blood. Seeing me go down, hearing Ava scream my name, it broke something in Luca. He was not a calculating boss anymore. He was a pure, primal force. He roared, us! He threw Victor off him like a doll. He moved past the nanny's shot, grabbed her gun hand, and I heard the bones in her wrist snap. She screamed. He hit Victor. Once, twice, 3 times. Victor went down. The gunman was already neutralized, moaning on the floor. It was over in 30 seconds. Luca stood breathing heavily, his suit torn, his knuckles bloody. Marco ran in, his own gun out. He saw the scene. Boss? Secure them, Luca said. He walked past them, and he walked past me. He went to the panic room where Ava was standing, frozen in the doorway. He knelt. Are you okay, Ava? She just stared. He stood up. He walked to me. I was on the floor, pressing my hand to my shoulder. He looked at the blood. She chose my daughter over her own life, he whispered, to himself. He looked at my wound. It is a graze, through and through. It missed the bone. He ripped a priceless antique tapestry from the wall and balled it up, pressing it hard against my shoulder. I cried out. Wow, hold that, why? He commanded, nah. Marco, call Dr. Albescu. Now. Then he did the last thing I expected. He walked to Victor, who was groaning. He pulled a chair over. He had Marco tie Victor to it. Then he pulled out his phone. He hit record. He knelt in front of Victor. Why are you here? Go to hell, Moretti, Victor spat. Luca hit him, a clean, sharp crack across the face. Ava is listening, Luca said, his voice calm. We can do this the hard way, or you can tell your side. Who helped you? It was your IT department, Victor mumbled, tasting blood. They gave us the schematic. They wanted a bonus. Why the ports? It is business. You pointed a gun at my daughter. That is not business. Luca stopped the recording. He looked at Ava, who was still in the doorway, held by Nonna Lucia. He looked at Victor. He looked at his own bloody hands. He did not hit him again. He did not pull a gun. He stood up. He handed the phone to Marco. Get the FBI, he said, his voice clear. Not the local police. Not Reed. Get the feds. Give them this recording. Give them these 3. He looked at Ava. Today, he said, his voice shaking just a little, I teach my daughter something new. Strength, he said, looking at me, is knowing when not to pull the trigger. The aftermath was a controlled chaos of new, strange men. Men in dark blue windbreakers with 3 bold, yellow letters on the back. The FBI, they were efficient, cold, and did not care about the name Moretti, except as it pertained to their case. Dr. Albescu, a quiet man with sad eyes, had stitched my shoulder in the library. He had given me a shot for the pain, which made the room feel like it was wrapped in cotton. Luca was with the lead agent, his voice a low, steady rumble. Ava was with Nonna Lucia, somewhere deep in the house, finally asleep. Then he arrived. Detective Reed. He pushed his way through the local cops, his badge flashing, his face a mask of ambition. He was too late. The feds had it. He was furious, looking for someone to blame, and his eyes landed on me. He came over, grabbing my good arm. "What the hell is this?" he hissed. "This was my case, my bust." "Let go of me," I said, my voice thick from the painkillers. "You did this," he said, his eyes narrowing. "You were supposed to be my ears. Grace, you were supposed to give me Luca, not this." He waved his hand at the federal agents. "I gave you nothing," I said. "You are going to," he growled, pulling me further into the corner. "You're a witness to an attempted kidnapping, a material witness. You will give me a statement. You will tell me everything Lucas said, everything he has done. You will bury him, and I will get Leo out today. It is that simple." He thought I was still his pawn. He thought he was still holding my brother's freedom. He was trading my brother for my soul. "The deal ends now." "No," I said. He blinked. "What, Grace? Do not be stupid. This is your one chance." "No," I pulled my arm from his grip. The pain shot up my neck, but I did not care. "I am done. You do not get to use me. You do not get to use him." I nodded toward my brother's name, unspoken. "And you do not get to use her. I am not your key. You are throwing away your brother's life." "I am choosing mine," I said, my voice rising. "I am choosing the little girl who was screaming in that panic room. I am choosing the man who put down his gun. You are just looking for a win. I am looking for a way to sleep at night." For the first time in my life, I was choosing with my heart, and I had not asked my fear for permission. Reed stared at me, his face turning an ugly shade of red. He knew he had lost. An hour later, I was in the study. Luca was there, and Marco. The feds were outside. Marco was pacing, his face a thundercloud. "You cannot be serious," Marco was saying, his voice low and dangerous. "You are giving them Victor. You are giving them our own IT men. We do not do this, Luca. This is not our way. The law of our fathers. We handle our own traitors. We do not invite the wolves into the house." He was arguing for the old law, the law that kept them alive. Luca was standing by the window, his bloody knuckles healing. He looked at his oldest friend. "The old law, Marco." Luca's voice was quiet, but it vibrated with a new, cold anger. Was it the old law that let my daughter's birthday party become a war zone? Was it the old law that had a gunman pointing a weapon at my 5-year-old? Tell me. It was a breach. It was the IT team. It was a failure. Luca slammed his hand on the desk. It was a failure of a system that cares more about ports and codes than it does about children. He turned to face Marco. "Any law that makes my daughter hide in a steel room is dead. It is dead as of today. This is my family. This is my business. And I am changing the rules. Is that understood?" Marco looked at Luca, and he saw a man he did not recognize. A man who was putting a child before the entire family business. After a long, tense silence, Marco nodded. "She is your blood. The rules are yours." Luca nodded. "Good. Now get out. I have one more thing to do." He found Reed by the front door, fuming as the feds loaded Victor, the nanny, and the bound IT men into separate black vans. "Detective," Luca said. Reed spun around. "Moretti, your house is a circus. I hope you enjoy the federal circus." "You look upset. Detective, your big case is walking away." What do you want? Reed spat. I am giving you a gift, Luca said. Reed laughed, a short, bitter sound. Listen, Luca said, stepping closer. I am giving those feds Viktor Dragunov, a known international criminal. I am giving them a confession. I am giving them the traitors in my own house. It is a career-making case. A slam dunk. For them, Reed said, not for me. Or, Luca said, it could be for you. My lawyers are drawing up a statement. My head of security, Marco Vitale, will deliver Victor and the others to your precinct. A gift, an anonymous tip led you, Detective Reed, to the Moretti compound, where you single-handedly stopped an armed invasion and arrested Viktor Dragunov. Reed was silent. He was listening. You get the arrest, Lucas said. You get the press. You get the win. You are the hero. What is the price? Reed asked, his eyes suspicious. Leo Collins, Lucas said. What? Grace Collins' brother. He's in your system. I do not want his case reviewed. I do not want him paroled. I want his record wiped. I want it gone, as if he was never arrested. I want a new, clean file, and I want him released tonight. Reed stared at him. He's rewriting my playbook. I'm sure Reed was thinking. That is impossible, when Reed said, I cannot just, You can, Lucas said. Or I can have Marco drive these men straight to the federal building and give a sworn statement that you have been harassing my wife and trying to use her brother as leverage. How do you think that will look? You get nothing. Or you get everything. Reed looked at the vans. He looked at Luca. He made his choice. He walks, Reed said. The file is gone. A clean start, Luca said. A clean start, Reed agreed. His teeth gritted. He walked away, already making a call. His entire demeanor changed. He was a hero again. It was almost dawn. The house was finally quiet. The agents were gone. The blood was gone. Nonna Lucia had scrubbed the floor herself. My shoulder throbbed. I was sitting on the sofa in the library, and Luca was sitting opposite me. He is free, Luca said. Leo, he is being processed for release right now. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded. There is one more thing, the hardest one. We found Ava in her bedroom. She was not asleep. She was sitting in a small armchair, holding her stuffed bear, her eyes wide. She was waiting for us. We did not sit on the bed. We sat on the floor, in front of her. My heart was beating so hard, I thought it would break my ribs. Luca spoke first. His voice was hoarse. Ava, he said, my sweet girl, I have to tell you something, and it is a hard thing. I lied to you. Ava's eyes flickered to me. Grace, he continued, his voice breaking. Grace is, she is not your mommy. Tesoro, she's a wonderful, brave woman, but I asked her to pretend just for the party, just for your birthday. He was crying. This big, powerful man was weeping in front of his daughter. I did it, he said, because I was scared. I was scared I was not enough for you, and I wanted you to have a perfect day. It was a lie, and I am so, so sorry. Ava just looked at him. Then her gaze shifted to me. Her lower lip trembled. You are not real, she whispered. My heart shattered. I reached out with my good hand. Ava, what Luca said is true. I am not your mother. I am a woman named Grace. He asked me to help, and I said yes. The tears started to roll down her small face. So, it was a trick. No, I said, my own tears starting to fall. The game was pretend, but my feelings were not. When I held your hand when you were scared, that was real. When I ran to you in the garden, that was real. I am not your mother, sweetheart, but I love you. That part is real. She looked at me, her eyes searching my face. She was not crying anymore. She was thinking. She slid off her little chair. She walked past her father. She came to me. She looked at my arm in its white sling. She gently touched the sling. "Does it hurt?" "Yes," I whispered. "It hurts." She crawled into my lap, careful of my arm. She pressed her face into my good shoulder, her small arms wrapping around my neck. Then she reached out her hand. "Daddy." Luca, his face a mask of disbelief and hope, crawled forward. Ava grabbed his hand. She pulled him closer until his head was pressed against my other side. She had her two favorite people, one broken, one healing. She hugged us both. "It is okay," she whispered into my neck. "It is okay." We stayed like that for a long time. Finally, she pulled back and looked at both of us, her face serious. "A real mom," she said, her voice clear, "is not a word. A real mom is just someone who stays when you are scared." She had just given us absolution. The next day, the world exploded. The headlines were insane. Moretti Mansion shootout. Mob boss in league with feds. Who is the mystery wife? The risk to Luca was enormous. By inviting the feds into his life, by turning over a rival, he had opened his own books. He was vulnerable. He was being investigated, and I knew he did not care. He had done it to give his daughter a safe place to grow. I stayed. I gave a full, truthful statement to the FBI, not as a pawn for Reed, but as a witness. For Ava, I did not save the world. I saved a child. It was enough. That night, I was in the guest house, packing my small bag. I did not know what came next. My brother was free. Ava was safe. My job was over. Luca appeared in the doorway. He did not knock. He saw my bag. "You are leaving." "The week is over," I said, my voice quiet. "The deal is done." "This is not a deal anymore, Grace." He walked over to me. He was not holding a check. He was not holding a contract. He was holding a single, simple silver key, the key to the guest house. He did not try to hand it to me. He placed it gently on the dresser, next to my bag. "This is not a job," he said, his voice rough, "and this is not a cage. You are not a prisoner here, and you are not an employee." He looked at me, his dark eyes holding mine. "You're free," he said. "That is the most expensive gift I have. You choose your own door." He turned and walked out, leaving me alone with the key. It was small. It was not a diamond ring. It was not a promise. But it was heavier than any jewel I had ever seen. I did not leave. I picked up the silver key. It was cool and heavy, and it felt like a choice. I slid it into my pocket and unpacked my bag. The days that followed the party were a strange combination of quiet and surgical precision. The house was scrubbed of its violence, but the lines of its defense were redrawn with steel. Marco oversaw the cleanup. He did not speak to me, but I saw him working, his face set in stone. He brought in a new security team, men with backgrounds in cybersecurity, not just with their fists. The entire IT department, the two young men who had sold Ava's life for $50,000, were in a federal holding cell. Betrayal always starts with an easy password greed. Marco had said that to Luca, his voice rough with disgust. He had found the wire transfer records. Tara Quinn had been paid, too, a small sum to create the distraction at the front gate. Her career was over. 2 days after the party, I was sitting in the garden, my arm in a soft, clean sling. When my phone rang, it was an unknown number, but it was not Detective Reed. "Grace," the voice was hesitant, rough. "Leo." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Oh my God, Leo, is that you?" "It is me, Gracie," he said. He was crying. I had not heard my brother cry since he was 10 years old. "I am out. I do not understand. They just let me go. Wiped it. They said I have supervision. But I am out." I closed my eyes, the tears running hot down my face. "I know, Leo. I know. Are you okay?" I am at a halfway house. It is clean. They got me a job interview for tomorrow. Grace, what did you do?" I met some people. Leo. Good people." "You be careful," he whispered. "You hear me? Be careful." "You too," I said. "This is it, Leo. Your second chance. Do not waste it." "I will not," he promised. "I'm going to walk straight. This time I am walking on my own 2 feet. Not on your fear." He was right. I hung up the phone and felt a string that had been tied around my chest for 10 years finally. Finally, snap. Detective Reed never called me again. He had his win, and I had my brother's freedom. Inside the Moretti house, there was a different kind of restructuring. Luca's decision to hand Victor over to the federal government had sent shockwaves through his organization. The old guard, the men who had served his father, were furious. I overheard them in the hall one evening, 3 older men in dark suits, their voices like gravel. "He has broken the code, Luca." One of them, a man named Tio, said, "He has brought the law to our door." "It was my door." Luca's voice was cold. "And my child, the code is changed." "You cannot change the code. It is what keeps us safe." "It is what got us here," and Luca said. "It is what put my daughter in a panic room. From now on, the rules are different. My rules: no children, no families, no collateral. Anyone who puts a civilian in the line of fire answers to me. And if you do not like it, the door is right there." The 3 men left. They did not slam the door, but the silence they left behind was louder. Luca was redefining his power, not by what he did, but by what he refused to do. But the most important change, the most fragile work, was happening with Ava. Luca had hired a therapist, a young woman named Dr. Evans, who specialized in childhood trauma. She came 3 times a week. She did not wear a suit. She wore jeans and bright-colored sweaters, and she brought a bag full of art supplies. The first session, Ava would not speak. She hid behind my legs. "It is okay, sweetie," Dr. Evans said, her voice soft. "Grace, would you like to stay?" "Do you want me to stay, Ava?" I asked. Ava nodded, her face pressed into my side. So I sat on the floor of the playroom with them. Dr. Evans did not ask about the party. She did not ask about the guns. She asked Ava to draw her safe place. Ava drew a small, wobbly circle. Inside it, she drew 3 figures: a tall man, a girl with curly hair, and a woman with her arm in a sling. "This is my circle," Ava whispered. Dr. Evans looked at me. "She trusts you. You are her safe support." And I knew then I was not going anywhere. The nightmares did not stop all at once. Healing is a habit, not a miracle, but they lessened. When Ava woke up, scared, she would run to the guest house. My door was never locked. She would crawl into my bed, and I would hold her, and I would tell her, "I am here. You are safe." She had a place where she could be scared without being yelled at or told to be quiet. And then there was Luca. With the pretense gone, something new and awkward and real started to grow. Our relationship was not built on grand gestures or whispered promises. It was built on pancakes. On Sunday morning, a week after the party, I woke up to the smell of batter and bacon. I walked into the main kitchen, and Luca was standing at the stove, a spatula in his hand. Ava was on a stool, carefully, messily, trying to pour syrup. I thought you were sleeping," Luca said. He looked flustered. His hair was messy. He was wearing an old t-shirt. "It smells good," I said. "Daddy is making circle bread," Ava cheered. He smiled, a real, unguarded smile. He slid a stack of pancakes onto a plate and pushed it toward me. "Eat." We ate. We did not talk about the FBI, or Viktor Dragunov, or the men who had left. We talked about whether syrup or strawberries were better. Happiness, I learned, was not silence. It was the sound of a knife cutting strawberries on a Sunday morning. Peace, I learned, smelled like pancake batter. We fell into a routine, a strange, new, domestic routine. In the afternoons, Luca and I would take Ava to the garden, which was just a garden again, and we would teach her to ride her bicycle, a new, bright red one. I would hold the handlebars, and Luca would hold the back of the seat. "You are doing it, Ava," he would yell, running alongside her. I'm scared, she would squeal. It is okay to be scared, I would call out. Just keep pedaling. One afternoon, she wobbled, she shrieked, and then she was balanced. She was riding. Luca and I were left standing on the path, watching her go. He was breathing hard, smiling. He looked at me, and his eyes were full of something I had not seen before. It was not gratitude. It was more. We did it, he said, out of breath. She did it, I said, laughing. He reached out, his hand calloused and warm, and he just tucked a piece of hair behind my ear. His fingers grazed my cheek. It was not a kiss. It was not a caress. It was just a touch. And it was more intimate than anything I'd ever known. The world outside was still turning. The United States Attorney's Office had, as Luca predicted, opened an investigation, but they had also offered him something: cooperation. They want me to help them, he told me one night. We were in the library, after Ava was asleep. They want me to clean house, cut off the less legitimate parts of my business. Will you, I asked. He looked at the fire. Every part of the business I cut. It is another dock worker without a job. It is another family without a paycheck. But he looked at me. It is also another inch of freedom. It is another night Ava sleeps without a bodyguard at her door. It is another day I get to be a father. Not that. What will you do? I am cutting it, he said. All of it. It will be hard. It will cost. But it will be clean. He did. He started to sell off the parts of his shipping empire that were gray or dark. It was loud and it was messy. But in the middle of it, he did something else. Nonna Lucia came to me, her face uncharacteristically soft. She had not approved of me, but she had seen me with Ava. She'd seen me take a bullet. He has done a good thing, she said, her accent thick. My Luca, he has learned to cook something other than violence. She handed me a piece of paper. It was a charter for a new foundation, a vocational training fund for the families of the dock workers who were being laid off. It was named after her, the Lucia Moretti Foundation for a New Start. I looked at the key on my dresser. I looked at the life I was building. I did not want to go back to the diner full-time, but I did not want to be kept either. So I made a choice. I went back 3 nights a week. I put on my old uniform. I poured coffee. It grounded me. It reminded me of where I came from, of the woman who knew how to handle a crisis, because her whole life had been one. The rest of my time, my real time, was at the house, in the garden with Ava, eating Sunday pancakes, sitting in therapy, holding a little girl's hand. I still lived in the guest house. Luca had never crossed that boundary. He had never pushed. He had given me the key, and he was letting me choose the door. I knew, just as he knew, that this arrangement was temporary. Ava was healing, Luca was changing, and I was blooming. But even love needs a fence. I thought, as I watched Ava sleep, it needs a safe place to grow, so it can bloom in the right season. And I was not sure, not yet, if our season was here. He took me to the docks. It was months later. The sharp cold of the fall was setting in. The trees in the compound had turned to gold and rust, and my shoulder was just a pale, silvery scar. He did not take me to the fortress or the diner. He took me to the Brooklyn ports, the source of his old power, the very thing Victor had tried to take. We stood on a long pier at sunset, the sky a brilliant, bleeding orange over the skyline of Manhattan. The air smelled of salt and diesel. It is quiet, I said. Yes, he said, it is. The last of the federal oversight finished today. We are clean. He turned to face me. The wind was whipping his dark hair, and he looked younger than I had ever seen him. Grace, he said, Weir, his voice rough against the wind. These last few months living in the house, you in the guest house, me in the main wing, Ava between us, it has been the best time of my life. Mine too. Luca, I whispered. I do not want it to be like this anymore, and he said, I do not want you in the guest house. I do not want this space, this polite distance. He reached into the pocket of his heavy wool coat. I want to ask you, he said, and I could see the nerves in his eyes. If you can, stop pretending. My heart stopped. Stop pretending, he continued, that you are just here for Ava. Stop pretending that you are just a guest, and stop pretending that I am not in love with you. He pulled his hand out of his pocket. He was not holding a box with a diamond. He was holding a simple, wide band of silver. It looked old. I am not asking you to marry a boss, he said, his voice raw. I am not that man anymore. I am just a man and a father, and I am asking you to stay. He showed me the ring. I could see the engraving on the inside. One word, stay. He was not promising me forever. He was not vowing a fairy tale. He was promising to stay. I looked at that ring, and then I looked at his face, his beautiful, scarred, tired, and hopeful face. And I thought of Ava. I thought of her therapy, her new, fragile laugh, her open door. I reached out and put my hand over his. His skin was cold from the wind. It is beautiful, I whispered. He started to slide it onto my finger. Luca, I said, gently stopping him. Not yet. I watched his face, waiting for the anger, the disappointment, the command. There was only a flicker of sadness. Not yet, I said again, my voice stronger. I laced my fingers with his. She is not ready. We are not ready. What we are building, it is real. It is not a story for the press. It is not a performance. It needs time. Ava needs to feel 100% safe, 100% secure, before we change anything. I squeezed his hand. But Luca, I am staying. I am not going anywhere. I am right here. Sometimes, I knew, the most powerful yes is a not yet that comes with an I am staying. He looked at me for a long, long time, then he nodded. He slipped the silver ring back into his pocket. He did not look angry. He did not look defeated. He looked patient. He put his free arm around me, pulling me against his side. We stood there, watching the sun burn out over the city. A few weeks later, we were sitting on tiny wooden chairs in a school auditorium. It was Ava's first school performance. Hero Day. Children, dressed as firefighters, doctors, and cartoon superheroes, had marched across the stage, saying what they wanted to be. Then it was Ava's turn. She walked onto the stage. She was not wearing a costume. She was wearing a simple yellow dress. She looked tiny. She looked at the microphone, then at the audience. She found my face, and I smiled, my heart pounding. She took a breath. My hero does not wear a cape, she said. Her voice was small but clear in the microphone. My hero. She works at a diner, and she's very brave. She got hurt by a bad man to keep me safe. My hero is Grace. She looked right at me, across the room. She is my hero. The room was silent. I had tears streaming down my face, and I did not even try to wipe them away. Then, I heard a sound from behind me, a low, choked sound. I turned. Luca was standing against the back wall, his arms crossed. He was crying, not quiet, dignified tears. He was openly weeping, his big shoulders shaking, as he watched his daughter on the stage. He was unashamed. He was in a room full of strangers, completely exposed. He had spent his whole life being strong, being a stone fortress. And I knew, in that moment, he had finally learned that real strength, real love, meant giving yourself permission to be weak. Our new family was not a fairy tale. It was a schedule. It was Dr. Evans on Tuesdays. It was simple dinners at the kitchen table. It was rules. Ava had made the most important rule. The door has to stay open, she had declared one night on Douyin when I was tucking her in. Why, sweetie, I had asked. Because, she said, her voice sleepy, if the door is open, it means I can call. If I have a bad dream, I know you will hear me. An open door means you are close. So, our door stayed open. The headlines in the press had finally, mercifully changed. The secret wife was gone. The mob boss shootout was old news. Now, the articles were different. Reformed boss Luca Moretti sells illegitimate holdings. The Moretti Foundation begins vocational training. Luca had seen one of the articles. He had laughed, a real, full laugh. "Headlines are just noise," he had said, tossing the paper aside. "This is the truth." The world outside had truly settled. Viktor Dragunov, facing a life sentence on federal charges, had made a deal. His entire network, the one that stretched across the Baltic, was dismantled. The night he was sentenced, I stood by Ava's window, watching her sleep. The house was quiet, but it was not the old, tense, waiting silence. It was a new quiet, a deep, peaceful, real quiet. I could hear the wind. I could hear the distant ocean. The silence, I thought, finally sounds like the ocean breathing. We marked the day, not the party, not the shooting. We marked the 1-year anniversary of the night I met him, the night of the storm. We were in the garden. It was a cool, clear evening. Luca had built a small, safe fire in the pit. He brought out 3 large, white paper lanterns. He held out a thick, black marker. "One word," he said to Ava. "What word do we want to send up to the sky?" Ava looked at him, and then at me. She took the marker in her small hand. On all 3 lanterns, in big, wobbly, 5-year-old letters, she wrote the same word. Truth. We lit them, one by one. Luca lit his. The flame illuminated his face, and he was looking at me. He was giving me just enough light. We would have to hold hands for the rest. Ava lit hers, her face full of serious concentration. She let it go. "Fly high," she whispered. "Fly high so Mommy can see it." She meant her first mother, the one in the sky. And I knew, my heart full, that it was okay. I lit mine. I let it go, and I watched it rise, a bright spot of honesty against the dark, velvet sky. The truth was not blinding. It was not a harsh spotlight. It was a guide. It was just enough light to lead the way. The 3 of us stood there, heads tilted back, watching the lanterns become stars. Luca's arm was around my waist, his pocket heavy with a silver ring. Ava's small, warm hand was held tightly in mine. We were not perfect. We were not a fairy tale. But we were real. And we were staying. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I would love to know where in the world you are listening from. Please leave a comment below and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel, Mafia Boss Stories, and like this video. It would also mean so much if you hit that hype button. Your support helps these stories reach more listeners.